Do you guys want to do any introductions?
Okay, so we were attempting to get a little jump start on the Chromebook program that we do in 6th grade, and this year we also have in the 5th grade. So for next year we'll have grades 5 through 11 that actually have a one-to-one program. It's been pretty successful so far. Obviously there's always bumps in the road, and every year we kind of figure out something that needs to be a little bit better. So Mr. Griffith was gracious enough to meet with us tonight so kids can pick their Chromebook color and kind of get the history behind the program, what we're going to do, and kind of what to expect as they enter the next school year. So we do appreciate you coming. So Mr. Griffith is our technology director, and he will share with you some information and give you things to ask questions.
Great. Thank you very much. And come on in. There's plenty of seating. My lovely assistants in the back will gladly put down cafeteria tables for you. So big round of applause for them. That's not very fun or easy work. Thank you. Great. So as Mrs. Schiffer said, my name's Eric Griffith. I'm the Director of Information Technology today. And I realize not everybody can attend this presentation. So what I've done is I've borrowed some technology, and we're actually recording it too. So at the end, I'm going to post this presentation up on our website, and you'll have a link to it today to do an activity which I have planned for everybody. It's fun, okay? Is everybody excited? Yeah, I didn't buy that. Is everybody excited? Yeah. I've heard more excitement at lunch. Is everybody excited? Yeah. Oh, it's getting worse. I think I'm gonna reduce the number of Chromebook colors to 1. Does that make everybody excited? No. So if I bring back the colors, is everybody excited now? Yeah. Okay, that did it. All right. So first of all, again, my name is Eric Griffith, Director of Information Technology. I apologize. What I really wanted to do was have this technology, which is a prototype from a company. And what it is, it's a 75-inch touchscreen television with a built-in computer in the back. And what it was supposed to do, and which it was doing about an hour ago, was presenting up there. But unfortunately, it's not working right now. Again, it's a prototype, so we're testing it out. That's why we test things out. Unfortunately, it's not working right now. So anyway, like I said, I'm recording this. I'm going to present this at the very end so you guys can write this stuff down. Okay, so right here is the link. So what I'd like you to do is I'm going to send this link out through the one call tonight. Everybody's going to get an email to do this now, or you can come up and take a picture of it, but that link is what you're going to need. You're going to want to go to that website, and then what's going to happen is this is how we fill out what color choice we want for our Chromebooks, okay? So if you want to take a minute and grab that, we can do that. In addition, thank you. In addition, Mrs. Garver is going to pass out a tech responsibility form. This is a contract between Mechanicsburg and you and your student, okay? So what it's going to allow is once you sign off of that on this contract, it's going to, or it's a form, right? It's going to promise that you're going to take good care of the Chromebook, okay? And then it's also going to ask you how you want us to filter the internet on the Chromebook, all right? So we'll go through and explain all that there. Did everybody get a chance to grab this link? Yep, it'll be loaded to the website. I'm going to send it out with one call now. After this, if you signed up for that with email, you'll get that. It'll be on your website, and I'm going to send it to each student's email account after we're done, okay? So anyway, first of all, let's get started. We're going to give a quick overview about how we're going to pass out or deploy, is what I call it, these Chromebooks. So hopefully, the first couple of weeks of school or week of school, depending on the building's preference, you're going to get your Chromebook, okay? So we're going to pass it out, and that, again, depends on the delivery date of the devices. Now, last year we had a bit of a frustrating point where they delivered us the wrong device, and we had to wait for a while, so that's not going to be the case now because in about an hour, the board will be approving the purchase order to purchase all these Chromebooks. So if I do that, the second I get that PO, I can take it and have our vendor order it right away. Typically it takes them about 2 weeks to get it in, so we'll even have these prior to the end of school, but we have to inventory them and rub them with magical unicorn dust in order to make them, up to Mechanicsburg standards. So anyway, that takes a little bit of time. The next thing we're going to talk about is this tech agreement, okay? So I'm going to click on this link and we'll take a look at what this looks like. So this is a copy of the agreement that, again, Mrs. Garver is passing out. And what we refer to is the guidelines of the Chromebook, which this is an organic document, which means it's constantly growing, constantly moving and living and all of that stuff. So as we come up with new standards or things that will help us out or things that we find didn't go so well, we'll make improvements and updates to this document and let you know about it along the way, okay? So in addition, right down here, we talk about the responsible technology use agreement, all right? So this is where we need everybody to fill this out, hopefully prior to the end of school, okay? So I need your student's name, parent or signature, guardian name, the date, the parent's email address, and then the student graduation year, okay? So most of you are going to graduate in 2024 or 2025, right? Okay? So that's how that's going to work. You're going to circle either of those graduation years, one form per student, okay? The next thing down talks about our internet filtration policy. So we're going to have a conversation about that as well later on. The first option is filtered. The next option down is unfiltered. So when I get to that part of the program, that's when I'm going to go in depth about how this works. You can read a little bit more about it right now, but again, I will go over it there. The bottom part is only for those of you who are going to need internet connectivity at home for the Chromebook. So we talked about this today in the administrative meeting, and what has happened is our internet service providers have increased the cost of how we do this, how we pass along internet, as well as they're starting to sort of filter out how fast the speed you can get. It's called throttling, right? So once you get to a certain amount of information that you've downloaded, these solutions, these third-party providers such as Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, they throttle your bandwidth, which means once you get to, I think it's 25 megs or 22 gigs or 25 gigs, they slow you down. So you can't get any faster. So for some folks who have constantly look at YouTube or Netflix or different things like that, you're going to run out of memory or the amount of bandwidth, the amount of information really quick, okay? So what we're going to say is these devices are really intended for educational use, right, at home. So in addition, if you're looking to get internet for the summer, right, if you want to pay for this device, starting next year, we might not offer that, okay? So this year we've offered that to our families where, hey, we want to use this for the summer. If you have an exceptional case like your son or daughter is going to be using Myon, which is one of our reading applications, if you can verify to us that, yes, that's how you're going to be reading and using internet through Myon is the only way to do this, then great, we'll gladly support that, okay? So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but Sprint and Verizon are the only two options. AT&T, they gave us a MiFi, but they didn't give me any pricing yet. So if you would prefer AT&T at your house, and again, this is only if you want to purchase internet for your house. If you already have internet, then you don't need to buy this through there, okay? So I'll get more into that a little bit later. Right, so we've got the tech agreement. This is going to verify whether or not we filter or we don't filter at your house, all right? So we'll talk about that again. I think it's 3 or 4 slides down. And then I need everybody to choose the color of the Chromebook that they need. So on this second slide of that link that I just gave you, if you click on this form, it's going to take you to a form. And right here, it's going to talk about what color you need. So from you, I need your name, what year your current grade is. So current 5th graders are 2024. The current 4th graders are 2025. Then you're going to put your email address, your student email address, and then you're going to choose from all these colors. We have an aqua, a dark blue, it's like a royal blue, FFA blue, it's also been called, sort of a neon green, an orange, Pink, it's a little more hot pink than what this is showing off there. Purple and red is a lot more red too. So these colors are a little bit muted on this screen. Speaking of the device, what we've gone with this year, we tested 21 or 22 Chromebooks, I can't remember, but we drop tested them, we beat the crap out of them, and then we sent them back to the vendors. And the one that held up the best was the Dell. Okay, so how it works is you can also flip it and use it as a lunch tray, all right? It's machine washable, so that's awesome. No, that's not true. So the deal is it'll flip all the way back. So some of the Chromebooks that we ordered last year, I don't believe they flipped all the way back. Okay, so this year, this actually does flip all the way back, right? And then it comes with these colored cases, right? So this is what I'm referring to when I say choose the color. Now this one's transparent. This is the demo device that they gave us to make sure it works. But what we'll do is we'll put a sheet of paper underneath this, and it's going to have your student's name and the school name and all that stuff on there, and then they'll keep really good care of that because it has their name on it, right? That's the theory, okay? So we'll have all that information on there. It'll be labeled. Okay, so this plastic, it's pretty neat plastic, and the reason I chose this over other cases is it is aircraft grade plastic, which if you hear my microphone, you'll hear this on the thing, but it's pretty sturdy, right? So we've had a lot of these drop, and really what it has done is prevent the denting and bumping and bruising of the device around the edge. So we put a lot of thought into taking good care of these Chromebooks, and this is part of our plan to do that, all right? So that's the first step in the Chromebook care. The second, this right here. This is a new bag that we're going with this year. It's called a bump armor bag. And I'm going to pass this bag around. It has a special lining inside. It's made of corrugated plastic and foam, right? So when you put your hand in there and you squeeze, you're going to feel this really hard protective layer. Okay, so what we encourage, what we require, is that when the student is done with their device, right, you close it back up and you keep it in the bag and you zip it back up, and that's going to protect it from darn near everything. Okay, so we're pretty fortunate here at Mechanicsburg. We have less than 5% damage than other Chromebook programs. So what that means is, if we had 100 students taking them home, only about 5 of them would damage it, right? At other schools, larger schools that do this, they're in the 40s to 50% damage, which means half the kids that take them home break them or damage them, right? They don't have cases like this. They don't have snap-on covers like this. So we're ponying up a little bit more money in order to make these things last and work for us, okay? So I'm going to pass around this case. You can take a look at it. The pocket is also a lot bigger, and this was a point of frustration for some of the kids last year. They tried to cram everything in there and it just wasn't fitting. Well, you really shouldn't do that, first of all, but the pocket is a lot bigger for the charger. And in addition, on the back, that's where the ID card is. So the student is going to receive their ID card at the start of the school, and it'll come right there in the bag, and that will differentiate the Chromebook bags between the students. Okay, so pretty neat. All right, go ahead and pass that around and feel how thick and protective that is. Now, not that bag, but previous bags, we actually took paintball guns and shot at them for official testing use as a stress-relieving activity, and it did prevent breaking the Chromebook glass. Now, the company has asked me never to show that video, but I assure you it worked. So these bags are very tough and paintball-proof, okay? So anyway, once you fill out that form, and I'll need you to do that by Friday if you can, otherwise we'll choose whichever color we have the most of. All right, so I need you to fill out that form. On the next one, going on. What's going to happen is in the 6th grade, the students, just like every other grade level we've had here, the students take these devices home with them every day, okay? So we expect them to take them home and use them for both academic and personal use, all right? So it's okay to do that. Now at school, you're on school time, so we expect you to use them for school use. I'll get into how we monitor that a little bit later here. But for the 5th grade, this is going to be a little different. The 5th grade, you won't get to take these home right away, okay? We still haven't spoke in great depth about if and when they get to take them home and use them at home. So In the meantime, we have these very spirit-oriented Chromebook storage carts. And so what they do is they have the ability for us to store all the Chromebooks in the cart. They plug the Chromebook in and let it charge, right? There's also cleaning stuff on the side so that the student can clean the screen because they get kind of gross, right? So the 5th grade will be required to leave them at school every day and charge them, okay? But you're leasing to own that device. Its device is still registered to that student. You're still going to pay your technology fee, to use it. It's just we're not quite there yet in order to take it home. And I want to say it's more from a responsibility level and a learning level, right? Eventually we might have some activities where they do get to take it home. That'll be up to Mrs. Garver and the teachers and myself to figure out how that works, right? So any questions on that so far? Again, the difference between the 5th grade is they don't get to take theirs home. 6th grade does, right? Any questions on that? Nope. All right. Devices will be stored in the cart when not being used in the class. Okay? So why did we go Chromebooks, right? Well, it's pretty easy option. We have almost 750 Chrome devices in the school. The things that run our digital signage are Chrome bits. The things in the back of the classroom are Chrome boxes, right? Every school in the state of Ohio has at least one Chromebook in it. All right, there was a survey that came out that said they're choosing Chromebooks over iPads, right? Because they're cost effective, they have a full keyboard, they have a great battery life, they're very easy to share and very easy to repair in classrooms. So it's a very neat solution, as well as Chrome is very secure. There are no viruses to date that have brought down a Chromebook, and Chromebooks actually get updated every 2.5 weeks automatically through Google's automatic software update. So very easy, very neat solution, right? So in addition, if your student accidentally damages the device, and we would need to provide them with a loaner, right, in order to continue education in the classroom, we can do that very easily. We take the device, we start to repair it, and we give them a loaner device, okay? So very minimal downtime for students. Whereas if it was an iPad, you'd have to log out, log back in, synchronize all your apps and all that stuff. With a Chromebook, it happens in seconds, sometimes minutes. So anyway, very easy, very cool solution. In addition, this is what the district is already using in the classrooms, right? We have carts full of classrooms, or carts that classrooms can check out, between 28 and 30 Chromebooks that they can check out and use on a daily basis. I think we have 6 carts available for checking out, so nice solution. All right, so how this works is after 4 years of paying the technology fee, the Chromebook is yours. I don't want it anymore, right? We do a one-time donation to you, and you get to keep that Chromebook. Now, some schools do this for 3 years. Mechanicsburg financially is going to have to do it for 4, right? So that's why we're ponying up, better cases and better bags to keep them working well. And that's why we do maintenance, scheduled maintenance on them and different things like that. All right. So the deal is after 4 years, the device is yours. And that means Google will support that device for 1 full year. If anything bad happens to it, you can bring it back to Mechanicsburg. We'll repair it for you. Not for free, but we can repair it for you because we still have those costs, okay? In addition, Google still supports that device, so if there's any major issue, you automatically receive those updates, all right? After the 5th year, it stops receiving updates officially from Google. That's what Google has said. And we might think, well, I've had a home computer for about 18 years and it still works. Sure it does, right? But just because it still works doesn't mean it's still, effective at getting on the internet and different things like that. So 5 years technology time is like really 15, it's dog years, okay? So you get that device for 1 more year, all right? So at that time, you'll have the option to use it as 1 more school year, or you can purchase another one. So starting in the 4th grade, after 4 years, when you come into the 9th grade, you can either use your Chromebook that's 4 years old for 1 more year, or you can purchase another one. Okay, so we'll cross that bridge when it happens. It may not be a Chromebook, it might be a hybrid Chrome device where the screen pops off and the keyboard is separate, who knows? You know, this year we were looking very heavily at touchscreen devices, but they're just not quite there yet for Chromebooks. Okay, so who knows what it'll be 5 years from now, 4 years from now, so we'll always keep that door open. All right, so after 4 years, the device is yours. Next, we have an incentive program where if need be, or if you would like to purchase this device, pay for it outright, this is the last year that we're offering this solution, right? So because, well, here, I'll jump to the next page here. Because of the cost of the device, when we originally purchased this program, this Chromebook was about $350, and the cost has come down, right? So in order to help encourage you to pay off the device 100%, we've said, okay, we'll reduce the cost of the device, all right? So now, the Chromebook is officially, we got it for $212 this year. So the cost of the device has come down greatly to the point where the total cost of the device isn't close to $300 or even $400 anymore. So we really don't need to get that money right away, okay? So this is the last year that we're going to be offering this solution. So what that means is if you want, instead of paying $50 a year for the next 4 years, you can pay $175 one time, and then the device is yours. You've paid it off completely. Now, if you do this, that means you get to take the device home over the summer, okay? So that's the big win for doing this. Otherwise, we say the device stays here during the school year, okay? During the summer. That means we keep it here all summer, we clean it, we store it, all that stuff. If you really want to have a Chromebook home at your house, then you have to pay that off in full, right? So does that make sense? Are there any questions on that? Nope. Again, you can still pay $50 a year for the next 4 years or $25 a semester for the next 4 years. It's sort of a fee. It's a lease to own concept where you're eventually getting that. You're eventually going to get the device, but we're just knocking $25 off the first year in order to pay that down so that you can take the device home over the summer, okay? And again, this is probably the last year we're going to be doing this, right? So let's look at the costs. In order to get this discount, what we do is we order in bulk, right? Just like Costco or Sam's Club, different things like that. They pay in bulk and they get the quantity down, and then they jack up the price at the last minute for you in order to make a profit. The difference is we don't do that, right? So the retail price of a Chromebook, if you look on our website, and these are all links too, by the way, is $239. This is the retail price for it because we sent out a bid to all these vendors. They said, okay, the lowest one was $212.50, right? So I said, great, we'll go with you. Okay, so we're going to pay this person $212.50, and we're ordering 260 of them. Now, there's only about 70, 72 kids in each grade, depending, 68 to 72, right? So we have some spares, as well as every 2 years, our staff gets new Chromebooks. What we do with their old Chromebooks is we put them back in the carts. So we have a replacement cycle for all of that stuff too. So this is the first year that we're retiring a series of Chromebooks that aren't going to be supported anymore for next year. So we have a replacement cycle in place, and we're using tax dollars appropriately there. So the deal is we're going to order 260. We actually need 270 Chrome management licenses. The Chrome management license is what allows us to safely monitor and support your device. You enroll it in the district and it says, okay, this is district property. The day you take that device, we get that license back. All right, so the district only has to pay for it one time, and this is probably the last year that we'll have to pay for this as well, because next year's devices we'll already have a license for, okay? So that device, we order in bulk, they knock $5 off. You have the bump armor, they're about $45. We get them for $26.89. The iPearl case, if you go to Amazon and look at this, it's $24.99, but we get them for about $15. So again, we get a pretty hefty discount for ordering in bulk, okay? Now the student fees, again, like I said, are divided up $50 per year, and it's $200 after 4 years, okay? So again, you can get that $175 discount if you pay it off, starting next year when you write the check, $175 and you paid the device off, okay? The repair cost, this fluctuates because we don't actually have a list of prices for repairs just yet. Since this model was just released about 16 days ago, they haven't given us an updated cost on how much different things are going to be. So for example, if you drop it and you do happen to break the screen, broken screen is about $50. At least that's how much it was on the previous model. Now, the reason Mechanicsburg does something else, or the reason we're so successful about the damage solution as well, is I have a policy. And that is the first time an accident happens with technology, I'll take care of it, all right? It's on me. I've budgeted for it so that if you accidentally break a screen, accidentally break a charger, whatever it takes, we'll fix it one time for free, all right? I have children, and I understand that they are destructive forces of nature with technology. My oldest son, he's 8. When he was 4, he decided to put peanut butter and feed the dog app on his iPod Touch, which was a hand-me-down. Then he decided to wash it off in the sink, which killed it, right? That wasn't an accident, that was an act of God, but still, we're gonna call it an accident, and it's a one-time replacement, right? I was frustrated with him, but I understand accidents happen, all right? But what we're trying to do here at Mechanicsburg is teach responsibility, okay? So, the only little asterisk by this one is if the technology department or your building principal or the teacher says this is not an accident, that they were being, disrespectful, it was malicious in the intent, or perhaps the student used it as a weapon, right? That's probably not an accident, right? Unless they were defending themselves for some reason, right? So not an accident, and then we'll say, no, I'm sorry, you have to pay for that, okay? So first of all, accidents happen, we understand that. We'll take care of the first one, the next one will cost you, okay? Any questions on that? Nope. All right. So in addition to that, we're going to have professional development for these devices. Students have the ability to take these online classes that teach you how to use Google Chrome and different things like that. So it's actually a little minion icon. It's built into every student account, and this is something that the school used to pay for, but Google found so much value in it that they just bought the company and now it's free. Okay, so this is another part of that cost savings. If we don't have to pay for it, then we're not going to pass that cost down to you. So an example is just another example of how this technology is getting more cost effective. One other thing that we've looked at before is incentivizing the training with different badges, right? I think in the younger grades that might just work this time, but we've tried this in the past without much success. So meaning as the student completes their Google Gmail training or something like that, they pass it, they get an assessment, they get a little badge to put on their Chromebook. And it's sort of like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, right? You earn merit badges for different things. So that's something we may look at, right? Now, this is the part that, sort of makes the eyebrows raise, right? So I'm going to be completely honest with how this works, okay? And some of you might not like the answers to this, but this is how this works, all right? So content monitoring, meaning how we monitor content on your website or that your students are looking at, right? If here at the school, when you get on the internet and you try to look at something inappropriate, a content monitor thing pops up and blocks you and says, I'm sorry, you can't look at this. This website has been blocked, right? So here at the school, there's 2 different solutions that do this. Yes, dear? No, she can ask. I know her internet history. I know where this is going.
Whenever we log on, we always see this website blocked by you.
Yes, so there are some websites that students have bookmarked and said, hey, I want this to pop up every time. So sometimes it's an extension or something that a student installs, and it's a fun little extension, right? But I have found it, or the building principals or the building teachers have found it to be too distracting. For example, there's an app called the John Cena app. which every time you open the Chromebook, he goes, oh yeah, or whatever he says, right? Just randomly, okay, just because. Why somebody wrote that app? I don't know, but it was too distracting. So what happens is we just block it. So I now can actually remove that so it doesn't pop up anymore, but for a while I would just block the website so the student would get a, hey, this is blocked notification, okay? So sometimes it doesn't have to be inappropriate content, just has to be annoying as crap, right? So we have different variations or different levels of filtering, right? But how this works, we use a third-party solution called GoGuardian. And there are two different versions of this. One is GoGuardian for administration, which allows the building principal and the technology department to view what you're doing, right, when you're logged into the student account, both at school and at home. And the reason being is if you're logged in to your student account, you're still using district property. You're still using that district account to look at different things, all right? So that's part of that filtration. That's part of this. Let's see, is it this one? Yeah. That's part of this form where it says, do I want it to be filtered or unfiltered? If you choose unfiltered, that means you can sign into this Chromebook with a personal Gmail account, and we cannot look at what you're looking at home. Okay, so if that's something that you want for your son or daughter, then check unfiltered. However, if you think they're not ready for this, I want it to be filtered for now, right? Then check that filtered button and they can only look at what the school deems is school appropriate. Okay, so what does that mean? Right? Different things that are school appropriate, I'm going to jump back to this page, would be social media. All right, we've deemed social media, various levels of social media, not appropriate here at Mechanicsburg schools. And the reason being is, first of all, right there in the end user license agreement for most social medias, if you take a look at them, the age requirement is 13 for just about every one of them, right? You might say, oh, well, my, fourth grader, fifth grader, they have a Facebook account, they have an Instagram account. Guess what? They lied. They had to lie in order to set that up. They either used your email address, right? And they said they were 27, right? Or they used their email address and they said they were 26, 27, whatever. They lied, all right? So the deal is Mechanicsburg can't be a part of that lie, okay? So for one, we don't allow students to set up Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, any of those social media websites with their school account, okay? So I know what you're thinking, well, I monitor it, I do that. That's your business. I don't need to know the rights and wrongs of that, all right? But what we do have is a social media, what you need to know about presentation, right? That we put together, and I presented this one time, and I'm sure if we get more interest about this, I can do this presentation again. We talk about what apps students are using, how they're communicating, the pros, the cons, the dangers, different things like that. So first of all, that's one of the reasons why we say, hey, we just block that, all right? The second is it's sort of a maturity thing, right? As we grow, we learn that sometimes, the things we say hurt other people, right? And there's that anonymity, right? The fact that I can say whatever I want and it doesn't matter. Well, that doesn't help when you have social media, right? And you can say whatever you want because that affects the real world. What you say online affects what happens off. Okay, is one of the things I like to say. So this is why we say, we're not quite ready for this. So that's why we block it at school. So again, we only have 2 levels of filtration. If I jump back to the levels of filters, sorry, it's on the screen. We only have 2 levels, filtered or unfiltered, right? That's like diet or regular Coke, right? So if you want the full blast, I want everything, you go unfiltered. And what that means is while they're at home, they can log into their personal Gmail account and look at whatever they want, as long as you deem that necessary. If you say, no, I don't think they're quite ready for that, then go filtered, okay? Now what happens throughout the school year is maybe you go unfiltered at first, and maybe you start to have problems. Maybe parents are calling you and saying, I don't like what so-and-so said online, blah, 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 right? However that happens, all you have to do is call, text, email, anything like that, let us know. With the click of a switch, we move you right over. Next time the student logs in, it's going to say, I'm sorry, you're on the filtered list. You can't log in, okay? So anytime, if you just want to try unfiltered, you can do that. At any time, we can flip a switch and turn you off, all right? Now, to go the other way, we're going to have you sign something that says, yes, we did that, right? So if you are filtered and then sometime through the year you say, all right, I think so-and-so has been great, he just turned 13, I want to, get him on the unfiltered list. The building secretary is going to send you home another one of these, and then we have you sign off to say that, yes, we did that. It's a bit of a liability thing for us. So anyway, those are the two levels of filtration for that. So we talked about, the different age levels. Again, everything, if you read it, starts at 13. And then social media for parents, that slide, that presentation, again, email the building principal if you're interested in doing something like that. So the next level of GoGuardian is actually the classroom level. So this is one that's really neat. We started to use this 2 years ago, and it's had a lot of positive results. So this one is called GoGuardian for Teachers. So while you're in the classroom, teachers actually get a dashboard of all the student desktops as they're working, right? So they can see what they're working on at that time. And it's a really neat view, and unfortunately I didn't have time to include it, but it shows a timeline of everybody in the classroom. And as that timeline progresses, you can see the students switch between applications, switch between YouTube, Pandora, Google Docs, different things like that. So from an administrative level, we get stats and alerts, right? Whenever a student looks at something inappropriate, we get a notification that says, hey, they looked at this inappropriate. We're going to have to call mom and dad or take another action, right? And Mrs. Schipfer and I have done this for now 4 years, so we got it down. Mrs. Garver, I think to date, has only had one instance of this, so we're going to break her in next year. Hopefully it'll be an easy ride. But anyway, we get these notifications where it says, okay, 60 students were blocked at trying to get to this website. And it could be a simple thing like you tried to see the John Cena app and I said no. Well, that still counts as a block, right? So Mrs. Garver and Mrs. Schipfer don't see those, only I do, and those are things that I need to go through and fix. But they might see the really bad stuff that, hey, this kid tried to go to a website involving pornography, right? Whether they tried to do it, intentionally or not, we still need to take action and see why, all right? So again, from the principal and the technology department level, that's filtering 24/7. As long as they're logged in to their student account, that's always being monitored. Now, how that works is I don't sit at home, with a bag of Doritos and just look at everybody's screen, right? How that works, because you might believe that that's exactly what I do, but they're Cool Ranch, so that's healthier. So the deal is, that's not how that works, right? You get a notification, so this, if something is looked at that's inappropriate. So to give you an example, you might go to Wikipedia, right? And let's say the student is researching something, why they're using Wikipedia as a research thing, I wouldn't suggest that, but maybe somebody's put a bad word in there, right, as one of the things, and the GoGuardian scanner grabbed it and said, hey, this is an inappropriate word, I'm sending a notification to Mr. Griffith, right? Those are very low-level notifications. Mrs. Garver and Mrs. Schiffer don't get those because I don't want to burden them with all those silly little notifications. They get the big serious ones, right? So that's an example of what might be blocked, right? So back to the teachers though, they monitor in that timeline in real time. So it's a really neat solution. And so what they can do is say, I'm going to restrict apps. I only want students to work on Google Docs for the next 20 minutes. So they click a button and that turns all the Chromebooks into, hey, they can only work on Google Docs. All right, so that view is called GoGuardian for Teachers. Now again, the big difference is at the end of their class period, that turns off, okay? They can no longer monitor the student once they get out of their classroom, okay? So we didn't want to give teachers that ability to do that. That's part of that program, but we did, our superintendent felt it was important for the technology department and the building principals to monitor for monitor 24/7 in the event there would be an issue or anything like that. So that's how that works, all right? So are there any questions about how GoGuardian works or GoGuardian for teachers or GoGuardian for administrators? Any questions? How many of the students have had GoGuardian for teachers on before? Yes? Yeah? What do you think? Not fun? Meh. Yes? No? Just like raising your hand? Me too. All right, so here's one of the posters that we talked about for, again, prototype. What we talked about for, social networks. One of the things is think before you post it, right? Think, is it true? What you're writing, is this really true? Is it going to be hurtful, right? You're not going to insult somebody. That probably not the best thing to do is write something like that in a text message or tweet or different things like that. Go back one, right? Is it going to be, is it illegal, right? You don't want to do different things, especially if you know that the school can track and monitor your accounts, right? Is it really necessary? Is it something you could have told them in person, right? Is it going to be helpful at all? And then is it kind? It's not very nice to say hateful things through text messages because it just doesn't make the other person feel very good, all right? So again, that's one of these things that we're very proud of at Mechanicsburg is we're continuing to teach this and make sure that everybody's aware of that. All right, talked about that already. All right, so at the end of this presentation, I have all the links for everything. If you're not sure of your student name and password, I put together a helpful infographic, is what they're called, on how this works, right? It used to be Bart Simpson, but about 2 years ago, I had a fourth grader come up to me and said, "Who is Bart Simpson?" And I felt super old, right? Yes, they've been on for 30 years, and I've been watching them for 30 years, but what the heck, man? It's Bart Simpson, right? So the deal is, I changed it to SpongeBob, and that fixed everything. So anyway, how this is going to work, if SpongeBob graduated in the year 2020, his username would be 20 SquarePants S, right? So that's how that naming convention works, right? So, and then we have a universal password as well. So their password would be SpongeBob, all lowercase, and then their lunch code or student ID. These are things that these are things that the teacher can look up for you, as well as if you log into Progress Book, that information is in there as well. You sort of have to piece it together, but that password should work for them, right? So the other thing is we have that Chromebook guidelines, policies, and procedures. Again, I need you to choose your color for your Chromebook by Friday. We have that technology usage agreement, right? Now you understand the difference between the two levels of filtration. You can make your choice there. If you have questions and you want to come up and talk to me afterwards, I'd be happy to stick around and help out with that. Or if you have any questions now, I can answer them too. Okay? You have a question, or you're like stretching? Stretching, yeah. I don't stretch or exercise. So anyway, then it's like, what do you need to know about social media? There's a link to my presentation on that. And again, I would hope to do that again during the school year a couple of times for parents. I think that was very beneficial. And then the very last thing is this presentation, which is being recorded now. I'm going to go ahead and link that in this presentation so that if anybody missed that and has any questions, they can watch this presentation again. Okay, so are there any questions before I leave you about the Chromebook one-to-one? I have some contact information. All the building has social media connections for you there to click on and choose, right? So, nope, any questions? All right, same old. Oh, yes?
Where is all this information again?
Good question. The very beginning, this link right here, it's goo.gl, so that's all lowercase, / lowercase y, capital W, capital O. I don't think that's a zero. I think it is a capital O. It is a zero? I thought the zero had the slash through it. Right, so this is an O. Yeah. So it's a capital O, capital J, lowercase m, capital C. Again, this link will go out to you in the email solution, what's it called again? One Call Now, as well as it'll be on our student websites, okay, or our school websites for you to click on. So, very good. Yes?
The ones that you hire before at prep, is that due by the end of school, or is that due?
Next year, due by the end of next year. Yep. So we're doing this a little early this time so that we could plan and get the colors in a timely fashion. Since we have the money already allocated, we're asking you the year before it starts in order to do that versus over the summer. So it's a good question. The question was 175. That's due by the end of next school year. Okay? Any other questions? I always feel like a used car salesman when I'm talking about that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but not trying to sell you things, but you are getting a pretty good deal on all of this stuff. The school is eating a little bit of money in order to ensure that this technology, that this one-to-one incentive goes well. So, great. Thank you much. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you very much.